But hey, it's time. We're live. Welcome to Game Central Junction, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Matel, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. We're here to talk about games. Actually, I got some stuff about trading cards to talk about at some point in the show, so it'll be fun. Go share off the show with some other people, bring more people in here, and if at any point during the show you happen to appreciate us as hosts and the things we're talking about, you can always give a donation to streamlabs.com/lamatorium live. Really helps us out. But in the meantime, how you doing today? I can't hear you. No, is your microphone on? Are you on the right microphone? I thought maybe you just had yourself muted until we went live. But I guess we never did a mic check. An ad in here. So it might be my end. Maybe if I leave the stage and come back. Yeah. But that's gonna make everything look weird, so I'm gonna go back to the loading screen real quick. No, they can't hear you. Don't worry, we'll get this fixed. We'll see what's going on. No, I still can't hear you. I don't know. Maybe? Because the thing is, like, I'm not even seeing a green light around your icon. Yeah. Like, when I talk, a green light pops up. Ooh! Yep, I did it. Let me full screen up. Full screen myself just in the meantime. So everything doesn't look all cropped up and jumbled. Why does it not want to make me full screen? Oh, you know why? I know why it doesn't want to make me full screen. I forgot to turn my camera back on. Duh. There we go. That was my fault. But yes, I will just keep yapping until we get this solved. Well, you're still in the audience, so I can't hear you when you're in the audience.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Lovely.
Yes, okay.
It's always Discord's fault.
Oh, yeah, yes. It used to be a marvelous system when it was first made, but every year it just gets worse and worse, and they keep adding features that nobody asked for instead of fixing the stuff that they're breaking.
Yeah. It's really weird, and I don't know why my chroma cam isn't coming up either.
Yeah.
I mean, my camera went on. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Everything's working perfectly.
Yeah, okay. Well, while I'm waiting for that to come in, say hello to the people in the audience. FlyFox Pro showed up. Hey, FlyFox Pro, he says, is that the new Halo 2 game? And I replied to, and I'll say it again because I believe it. I wish we were in the days that Halo 2 was new. That was just a much better time for gaming in general. Like, we've got really cool stuff now we're going to talk about, some of us, but like the balance of good to bad was just so much better then, and there was so much to look forward to. We weren't hitting like graphics walls. There was still tons of really nice stylized stuff. It was just a good era. Yeah. And Fizchozo's here. He says, hi, everybody. Can I come on to discuss the Nemesis system today? Why the fuck do you even want to discuss the Nemesis system? I'm gonna just be blunt. Why? It's not even that interesting.
I mean, you want to come on and complain about it, presumably, and we agree, I guess?
Yeah. It was like, oh, Warner Brothers made something. They put a patent on it. Nobody else can use it. What a shock. And now they don't want to use it.
I wonder if Windows updated, because, like, things look a little different-y today.
Yeah. I don't know. But
I'm trying to bring up my camera. Not going to cooperate.
we do have stuff. We do have stuff. I've got stuff pulled up.
Well,
I don't know if you have stuff.
I always have stuff. But I wanted to ask you, did you watch... We did?
Yeah, OBS disconnected. And then I was back. Don't know why I did that, but it did.
Oh, I lost internet briefly as well. I guess it was the router.
Yeah.
So I'm glad everyone heard the fantastic stuff that I just said, but
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying Pokemon Concierge, which is a season 1, which was all of 4 15-minute episodes. Very quick watch. Is on YouTube for free starting tomorrow for 2 weeks. A little more than... No. Slightly more than 2. Till March. So, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, maybe I'll watch it because I think
It's
I
very short.
forgot to watch it because it was during the time that I was packing and everything.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And maybe we'll go talk
Yeah.
about it on the Monday show after I watch it.
Yeah. Well, it was cute.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it before it came out, but I completely forgot it was a thing because just the entire middle section of last year was a roller coaster.
Yeah, slightly. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I would check it out. Like I said, it's really quick watch. That's all I got. No,
Okay.
just kidding. It's a few other things, but nothing particularly important.
Yeah. And I guess people think about Pokemon when the video games, they think about Pokemon, but would have been a better topic for Monday, though I think we probably would have forgot by Monday, so it's fine to start with it now.
Yeah.
But we've got lots of video game stuff to talk about. Some things industry, some things are just fun. I watched quite a lot of the Like a Dragon Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii today, which was a game we talked about at the earlier end of the... no. When was that announced? Was it announced early end of last year? Or no, it was middle of last year. It was at...
It was a while ago.
Game Awards. Or not Game Awards, Summer Games Fest. That was when it was announced. Back in like July or whenever that happened. And I thought that was exciting. When I looked at it, Yakuza never really disappoints. You never know what they're going to give you. It could be any game from one to the next. Sometimes Yakuza's a beat-em-up game where you go through a city and do like normal quests and stuff. Sometimes you're driving a taxi around the entire game, and sometimes it's a turn-based RPG. You never know, and this time, it is pirates. It's everything, but it's pirates. The combat was kind of reminding me of No More Heroes a bit. Maybe somewhat a little like Dead Rising, but more sophisticated. There's aerial attacks too, so I guess somewhat falling into that more Devil May Cry side of things, but not as intense, right? It's a little closer to low intensity combat. But there are combos, a lot of fun stuff. You do get crewmates that fight with you eventually, and there's ship combat where you get a rocket launcher. That was out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, use the rocket launcher because we're down a cannon. But in many ways, like a rocket launcher is probably better than an old pirate cannon. But it seemed like a really fun game. It's one that I definitely would like to play. I like the Yakuza games. I've played a few of them. They're surprisingly from the same team that makes Super Monkey Ball. You probably wouldn't ever put those two things together, but the same development team as Sega.
That was weird. Yeah, that's odd. Well, now Super Monkey Ball was that what we were watching with the monkey thing that came up, or was that a different game? A lot of weird retro monkey stuff.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember the topic.
Something where they're in a jungle and right at the end.
No, that was Ape Escape, which was with the end of the Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Right. Yeah, what's up with that?
No, I told you there was like a tie-in that happened back in the day, so they're bringing it back into the remake of the game, and they're doing more with it, multiplayer and stuff. But with what I'm calling Like a Pirate, which I think is a better shorthand for the entire game, instead of saying Like a Dragon, Yakuza, Pirate in Hawaii every single time. You can almost feel that the Yakuza games are made by the Monkey Ball team if you've ever played any of the Monkey Ball games, because while they seem simple on the surface, you're just kind of like moving the stage to get this monkey around. They do all kinds of weird, interesting things with it, like puzzle solving, and I think one time you had to like knock down towers with the monkeys, like the bowling, all kinds of weird things with Monkey Ball on the side. So they're the type of team that likes to experiment, and they use the Yakuza games to do that. And this game just really feels like throwing everything at the wall and not even caring if it sticks or not. But it looks great. I watched the entire like first chapter, hour of the game, whatever, the prologue, and they end the prologue with a musical number that's got like the credits of the cast on it and everything.
Mm-hmm. Fun.
So it's on my to-play list whenever it becomes accessible. It looks great.
Is that going to be free?
No. Oh. No. It's a traditional game, so I'll have to buy it. You know, unless, like, I don't know, half a year from now, it just happens to randomly be on, like, PlayStation free games or something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that's that topic. I don't really have much more to say other than I'm probably going to continue watching more people play it. Highly recommend the game, even though I haven't played it myself. The only thing I can't tell you is whether the controls feel good in your hand, but all the previous ones did, and it looked like a lot of the mechanics look similar to how they felt in the remakes and Yakuza 0, right? If there was the Kiwama, I can't remember I think it's Kiwama, the 1 and 2 remakes. And Yakuza 0 pretty much have the same gameplay. They're faster paced, but they're still beat 'em up like the original games. They're just kind of tighter than they used to be. And it looked very similar to that. So if you liked Yakuza 0, you'd probably like the gameplay in this one.
That I ever played a Yakuza.
Oh, they're great. They're great. I'd lend you Yakuza 0, but I guess I still could. I have it digitally on Steam, so.
Cool.
But I wouldn't recommend playing it. Not right away. I would probably play the remake to 1 first, because it's a prequel to 1, and it reruns some of the stuff. But technically, it's like spoilers if you haven't played 1 first, and it just doesn't hit as much. So it'd be like watching the prequels before watching the original Star Wars, and be like, well, of course that guy like was Luke's father. We were following him this whole time, right? Like it just doesn't hit as hard if you don't play 1 first.
Oh, I see. Good to know.
Yeah.
So that we have a couple of unfortunate delays.
Oh yeah, I
Perhaps.
remember you wanted to talk about Fantasy Life.
Ah, well, you're doing a spoiler. I'm going to talk about something else first.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the other one is. I don't know, what's been delayed.
So, yeah, well, something that I don't care as much about, but Tales of the Shire has been delayed again.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't think that was even worth bringing up.
I think it looks like a cool game, but
it
apparently
looks like
delayed
a worse version of a game I would play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I kind of like the ideas it's got, but it looks really bad at it.
It almost looks so bad it's good.
But maybe.
Apparently, yeah. So I guess it was supposed to come out last year. It got delayed March of this year, and now it's coming out July 29th. I really hate this website because if you stay on a page for too long, suddenly a very loud commercial.
Oh.
But yeah, actually I don't think it's even on here, but Fantasy Life I finally got a release date, and I don't know if they even acknowledge the fact that it is a delay, as they originally said April. Down here. Originally said April, but now it's releasing May 25th? 1st? Late May. Sometime late, I believe. So, it really grinds my gears. Level 3 is very annoying about stuff like that. I feel like they've delayed other stuff. Did they have to delay the original Fantasy Life? I don't
know. It's not a company I follow. You would know. If either of the two of us would.
They're annoying. Yeah. Frankly, I'd rather have a game that works, not broken. And I know, based on the original, it's quite complicated. So it's like, there's got to be a lot of balancing and tuning, and it's kind of cool because in the original, you had to kind of go back to town or go to sort of the guild to switch to a different life. So like, you kind of had to plan ahead and be like, okay, as a chef, I need to go out into this dangerous area and collect certain ingredients. But like, when you're out there as a chef, you can't complete like warrior quests, stuff like that. You had to redo areas over and over and over again if you wanted to like do it for every life, and because it's basically like changing classes, but you can't just change it in the middle of your outing, your ooting, as Anya would say. But now you can. Second, apparently, change your life right in the middle of things. I don't know. I imagine it switches your weapons and armor for you. Classes can't use certain equipment, but as I recall,
just leave you naked.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully, you whatever you were wearing the last time, in that life.
I mean, they could just have
stay with you.
A trade-off where instead of making it to where you can't wear the armor, you're just at a disadvantage if you're wearing armor that doesn't fit the life that you're currently doing. That way, if you switch, you're like, okay, I'm cooking, but I just don't have any of the benefits.
I guess. I kind of liked. I don't remember for sure, but I think the first one basically saved your outfit, unless you, or your equipment, unless you like sold a piece of it or something. But yeah, as I recall, there was never a problem with storage. You can upgrade your personal storage and your house storage, but I never even came close to running out of room. So I don't see anything wrong with just carrying all the equipment for every different life.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know anything about the game other than what you've told me. So, I'm just spouting things out.
It's really cool. I like it a lot.
Well,
I
you know,
just
it's as the great Shigeru
don't want to wait.
Miyamoto once said, a delayed game is eventually good, while a rushed game is never good. Of course, that was also said before you could just continuously patch games to hell and back.
Yeah. Well, so now there's sort of the release window where
Yeah.
it'll lose a lot of hype if it sucks right out the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could patch it a year later, but
Not everyone
know.
gets to be No Man's Sky.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I almost gave No Man's Sky as an example. I was like, actually, that's a bad example because it kind of got more popular over time.
Yeah, that's like an exception to the rule, but it's a very all exceptions are very rare.
Yeah.
Most games just die.
Yeah, I imagine what Cyberpunk 2077 never did nearly as well as it could have. Probably should have just waited another year, but I don't know if they could have waited.
And now they're trying to be
run out
even
of
more
money.
ambitious with the sequel. Recently, the director said that he wants them to have the most filled and realistic crowds possible for the background. And it's like, I mean, I guess that's cool.
Okay.
There are some cool stuff happening in Cyberpunk, like the car physics and how things go by when you're in a car, like the way they render the world is really cool. It's high tech, but realistic crowds that are denser than they used to be, is that really what you need to be focusing on with how bad the launch of the first Cyberpunk was?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember that it was funny because it kind of a lot of simulation theorists or simulation theory proponents believe that things don't pop into existence until you observe them. So if you turn or things aren't necessarily full fidelity until you look at them. So this lamp next to me, see, well, it popped into existence because you looked at it, but it might be very, very pixelated right now because I'm not looking at it. Nobody's looking at it.
Well, I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But or something that nobody's looking at may not actually even exist. And the funny thing about that game is you could turn and you'd see traffic and then you turn away and then you turn back and it was different. It completely, everything ceased to exist and then got regenerated when you turned to look in the direction. Anyone who lives in Cyberpunk 2077, I don't think they realize they're in a simulation.
Well, they don't because they're video game characters.
Yeah. Well, we could be too.
Yeah, but that also sounds like a bunch of people who are high on too much math.
Maybe. I think ours is built a little bit better because when I turn, if there's a parked car and I turn away and I look back, it's still there, usually. Or I should say it regenerates in the same spot as it was when I looked away. So somebody built our simulation a little bit better.
If you say so. I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
We were talking about
that
Fantasy
topic.
Life. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be good. I am a big proponent of just take the time you need. It's just.
Yeah, same.
I wish they'd hurry up.
I get some of these studios, and one of the things I have pulled up, which I didn't, there was a backup story, but we can very briefly talk about it, was...
Oh, no.
What?
I think I saw what story you had there.
One of them, maybe. I'm trying to find the one that I was thinking about, though. Here we go. One of the big problems with waiting forever for games is that you have to continuously pay the people working on the game the entire time that they're working on it. Now, this becomes less of a problem if you're a really small studio or garage size to indie, just because a lot of people are just dedicating their free time to it, right? Or your game might have been so successful that if you have a limited amount of employees, you can continue to just pay them until the next game comes out, right? If there's 10 guys working on a game and you made several millions of dollars, you don't really care how long it takes, right? But if you're a larger studio, like Sony's interactive entertainment gaming division in Japan back in the day, you can't afford to just work on games forever, especially if your section of the market kind of disappears. So we heard from the former president at Sony Interactive Entertainment, Shuhei Yoshida, that the reason they closed down the Sony Japanese division for game development was pretty much because the AA market disappeared. And that's what they worked on. All right, maybe stuff that you might consider Astrobot on the verge of that territory, right? It might be like right wedged between double and AAA, but it's on the lower end of it. Games kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and demanding a higher budget, or they kept getting smaller and smaller, just pulling away the middle ground. So anything that the Japanese division used to work on was pretty much just going straight to indies. Like, indies were covering it. They were spending way less money and getting much higher returns for it. So they just had to close down it altogether. So, maybe you can't afford to just make a game forever, especially if you make bad decisions in the first place.
I mean, yeah, that seems like a bit of an excuse, because like they could have split the team up and done a bunch of smaller games. Could have lots of different ways they could go, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was a handy excuse to fire a bunch of terrible development. I don't know. But I can see their point. I kind of agree that the AA market has disappeared, but like that doesn't mean that you can't make games. Just make smaller ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it, like I said, it's bad decisions, right? So, I mean, Sony has been constantly making bad decisions in their development. One of the games that he referenced was Gravity Rush 2, which Gravity Rush is a really good series, but now it's dead because it was made by the Sony Japanese team, and they killed the studio. Gravity Rush, if you look at the budget, if it was a decade before it came out, you actually probably would have considered it a AAA game back then, but because the AAA budgets have been increasing, it was only a AA game, right? And it did not make back as much as they were expecting when you compare it to the first Gravity Rush, despite the fact that it was a very successful game. And that's what they kept seeing over and over again with all of the games coming out of that studio, which, again, just it's mostly Sony making bad decisions. I'm sure Gravity Rush 2 probably could have done a lot better itself if it was marketed better. Or another one of the games that came out of the studio that didn't do very well, and maybe it never could have, was the PlayStation All-Stars Battle game, which was like their version of Smash Brothers. Like, it was a fun idea, but maybe that game never could have done well. Just because it's like it's trying to fill a Smash Brothers hole on PlayStation, but was that hole actually there? Like, was the PlayStation audience wanting that because they're a different audience than the Nintendo audience that plays Smash Brothers? Like, did you do the market research to see if the desire for that game was even there in the first place for it to sell really well?
And, like, that seems like a game where they could easily have marketed it through streamers. Did they do that?
No, but also streaming really wasn't a place for marketing at the time that game came out. Like, there were already people streaming, but that wasn't what you would do then. Maybe if it came out 3 years after it did.
Yeah. But like nowadays,
you
can just, I don't know. So,
yeah, nowadays it would be
pretty sure,
a better investment than actually making a commercial for the game.
I mean, if you're confident that your game is going to be fun to play, I would imagine people like Asmongold would probably be happy to take money to play a game. I think he's even said that, but they'd have to be upfront about it and say, they paid me to play this. Let's take a look. And then you've got an audience of, I don't know, 15, 20,000 people watching. And if it is fun, if it sucks, you're going to get a bad review. But
Maybe. I mean, from him
If there are-
specifically, you would get a bad review. There are definitely streamers
Yeah.
that you could pay and they would just give you a good review regardless. It depends who you go to.
Yeah. Yeah, but are they gonna drive sales though?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
people
there's
know?
other ones that they're not maybe necessarily as big as Asmongold, but there's some that are maybe even just half his size,
Yeah.
which would still be enough to drive sales to it. That would totally, like, you could just pay them and they'd say all the positive things you'd ever want them to say about the game because they got paid to play it. Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to? This Joseph's dying to talk about this.
It just doesn't sound interesting. Like, at all.
I mean, I guess.
I haven't played the games that the system came from. It wasn't a fun game.
Well,
And I'm
the
sure you
question
can
is-
use it in anything, but yeah, here's the question. It's like, do they have a copyright over the name or the actual mechanic? And it's like, well, it wouldn't matter if they had a copyright over the name, if you even could. I mean, you can't copyright the word nemesis. It's a common vocabulary word, right? You could put a trademark on it for use. That's the most you
Yeah.
can do. But yeah, you can like copyright code to a degree. You can copyright systems to a degree, like
But-
you can patent them, but
Maybe.
it's dicey.
You can't really copyright algorithms. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Can you? You can hide them, but like,
Well, what you could do is
If
you could
someone wanted to
copyright
program their own-
the like direct code. Technically, like you can put it,
yeah,
but if somebody
They'd have
comes
to
to
reverse
it
engineer.
of their own accord, there's not really anything you can do about it.
yeah. I mean, I assume what you're saying is that
Yeah.
they have like a system that's kind of like a plug-in into a game that gives it this feature, or
No,
is it just a way that they program?
You know
the-
how like Nintendo put like a patent down for being able to throw a ball and catch monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
sort
pretty
of.
much that. They basically put down like a patent to where other games can't do this thing where you have an enemy that builds up in the background and becomes like your rival and becomes stronger over time. They pretty much did that exact same thing, just not retroactively. They did it back when they made the game.
Yeah. But like, so if you just did that yourself, they're gonna sue you?
Honestly, they probably don't care enough, to be honest.
I don't even.
But yeah, they're just sitting on it. Not that it's even interesting. It's like there's so many things you could do with it. There's so many things you could do without it,
Yeah.
even doing the same thing.
I don't even understand
Yeah.
how they could. It seems unenforceable. It's such a vague.
I think most of these are unenforceable. Remember, the way patents work is you can file a patent as long as nobody else has filed it and it doesn't check off certain like boxes. There's like 3 or 4 boxes of like, we just won't even give you this patent in the first place. As long as it doesn't check those off, that patent will sit until somebody challenges it. Like that's pretty much how the system works. So they
Yeah.
could try to enforce it and you could challenge it and then they could just like lose it. You know, like that's just how it works.
I mean, just. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
This seems like such a non-issue.
it
Like,
is. It
have
is a
they
non-issue.
ever
That's why I didn't want to talk
sued
about
anyone? Have they ever sued anyone for
it.
it?
Not that I've heard of.
Is it a big deal? Like, have people
I don't
been
think it is.
talking about? Oh, I wish I could make this game, but
This
I
is why
can't.
I didn't even want to bring it up on the show because it's not interesting.
I don't even.
There's nothing to
I mean,
talk
I just
about.
don't understand. Yeah, like, are you planning on making a game, Joseph, that uses this system? I don't think so. I mean, I could probably think of games that do this.
Yeah.
So seems like a non-issue. I did think it was interesting, completely sort of different.
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite. The in Echoes of Wisdom, I liked how Link was apparently doing stuff in the background. Like I guess he would. I don't know if he was in the void the whole time, or
I think he was in the
what,
void the
but-
whole time. In the rifts or whatever, yeah.
you're in the rifts. Yeah, he must have been having a grand old time. Because like all of a sudden he appears I was like, "Oh, what have you
Yeah.
been doing?" I want a side quest where you find out what he was up.
Yeah, like an after story, after quest, or even if a DLC where you just go and play all of Link's parts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it could start the exact same way, except when he sinks into the rift, just follow him and see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. Like maybe he finds like these windows into the real world or whatever, the normal world, and he can like see Zelda and I don't know, he's actually helping her in some way. I don't know.
I mean, maybe we'll eventually see something like that. Sometimes if Nintendo does do something, you'll see it like a year after the game drops. But if they don't have any ideas, we should probably just have faith in them and be like, it probably wasn't worth it anyway.
I guess. Speaking of Nintendo, they're trying to unload the last few Switches, I think.
They're trying to unload everything. They're also discontinuing the Gold Point Rewards program ahead of the Switch 2 coming out.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I do with my gold points? I guess I better use them.
Yeah, I guess you better. But they said it's going away on March 25th of this year.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. So you have until basically any game released to the 24th. And you got to go use them. I always hated the system anyway. Like, I get it. It's more of just like a rebate system. So it's like, hey, you bought these games. Here's a discount on the next game that you buy, which is better than nothing. I'm not going to say it was a bad system. I just hated it because it replaced their older systems, right? So between the gold point and the platinum point, which is a different thing for getting goodies from them, it completely replaced the old Club Nintendo system where just for buying games and storing up points, they would give you physical merchandise all the time. You didn't have to pay for shipping. Club Nintendo was I think 1 year they even offered to give you like a subscription to Nintendo Power with your Club Nintendo points, because I think that's how I got it 1 year. It's like, yes, I saved myself $15 from spending it on their games. And the older system, I just liked it better. I guess there are definitely people who probably like this one better too, because it's like, I don't give a shit about the merchandise. I just want discounts on my next game that I purchase. So, it's whatever you prioritize.
Well, you're sort of conflating the platinum points with the gold points, because
no,
you can't
I was talking about the games with the gold points were only for games. So I'm not conflating them.
Yeah,
it's just the platinum has merchandise, but that system's worse.
Yeah.
And these two things come together. So the combination of platinum and gold replaced Club Nintendo. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Well, so are the platinum
No, the platinums are
coins
still
staying? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worse.
That is worse.
But I like that. I mean, I like the platinum points because I have gotten some physical items. But, yeah. So, I mean, I guess you just don't get any
discounts now, yeah.
It wasn't much, but I have 168 gold coins right now, which is worth $1.68.
I think I've purchased a full game with gold points before. Now, obviously, it was a smaller, cheaper game, but I've purchased a game outright with just the saved up gold points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. I was actually shocked to find out that they expire. Like, I knew the platinum points expired. I didn't realize the gold points expired too.
But yeah, they haven't given a reason why. Not only did they used to expire, but now all of them are going to expire on you, regardless of when you got them.
Yeah.
It's just they're being discontinued, and we're pretty sure it's whatever they're going to end up doing when the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah, I mean, not the end of the world. No. It's just, you get. I don't remember how many points you get for what. I feel like it was like, you buy a $50 game, you get something. I guess you'd get like 10%.
Yeah.
Would you get like 500 points basically?
Something, I don't know. I would just see it racking up. I never
5%.
paid attention to how much I got.
Yeah. I guess it's not the end of it. That's too bad. That's a shame.
Yeah. I just know with their history of systems going from Club Nintendo to My Nintendo, whatever they replace it with is probably just going to be worse. That's the trend that Nintendo's been doing. So.
Well, I wish they had more stuff to buy with your points,
Yeah.
because like occasionally they'll have something neat. Like I got that Nintendo World Championship hat.
Yeah, and they do still do the merchandise, like I said, but it is occasional. Most of what they do is just digital goods, right? So there's plenty to spend it on, but it's for like digital crap and things you have to print out yourself that's not even worth you spending the money on. While like back with Club Nintendo,
stuff.
You could get physical stuff all the time. Like they were always updating the roster, the library of things you could purchase from. That's how I have like that that Animal Crossing paper fan with the actual wooden handles and everything, where I've got a set of Star Fox dog tags that I got with Club Nintendo points. That was a cool system.
Yeah.
And because that was the only thing that your money, like as a form of rebate, was going to, they covered the shipping on everything every single time, which I thought was the best part of that system. Like, this is a loyalty reward. We're not going to charge you extra.
I mean, the fact that they do charge shipping has nothing to do with the fact that they changed it to
no.
platinum points.
I'm just
whatever,
tracking like how their attitude used to be versus how they do it now.
Yeah, they could have paid for shipping if they wanted to. I feel like they did for a while. Like I seem to remember getting stuff occasionally for free. Maybe
I think the first, because I got a couple things when they first started doing my Nintendo, and the first thing I ever got was like an ornament that I don't have anymore. They charged me shipping, like right away.
They did not.
No, they did. Like on the very first thing I
did.
got, which was like an ornament for Animal Crossing or something. I wish I still had that one. Got lost, but yeah, I had to pay like.
But yeah, I mean,
they
could have kept the old system and just started charging shipping. Be the same.
Oh yeah. No, well, see, what's equating in my mind is that the old system was the rebate. So the fact that they separated your rebate is why they probably justified that they can start charging shipping.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So started charging shipping, but also started giving you the gold point.
Yes. Like this, it used to all be one program, but because they separate into this gold and platinum thing, they're like, okay, well, we're not giving you a rebate anymore through the loyalty program. We're going to charge you shipping. That's the justification that I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but it kind of tracks with other stuff that Nintendo's done. Right?
Yeah.
Which is also why I think now that they've done that, whatever the next thing is, it's probably just going to be worse. Like they're just going to make worse programs over time.
Or it could be better.
It could be better. I would love to be wrong. Nintendo, please, just make me wrong, and I will love you more. You've been losing me.
But of course, like no one else has programs like this.
Yeah, nobody else does. So Nintendo's still like better off than getting things from like Microsoft or Sony. Yeah.
But anyway, I was just gonna say because it looks like they're basically offering games with the OLED Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, so
consoles.
like Mario Wonder has like a combo you can buy coming out.
Oh hey, Fox Pro's back.
Yeah.
Or maybe he never left. Make a collection of the old Pokemon games for me to buy. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, because you could back on the 3DS, all of them, not all of them, at least red, blue, and yellow were available on the virtual console. I think they were supposed to do gold and silver, but maybe that got canceled before they ended the eShop. It would be nice. I would love to have all the old ones on like the Switch.
Do you really want to play the original?
I love the original. I go back and replay them often, actually.
Aren't they totally broken?
Yeah, that's what's good about them.
Okay.
Right? But sometimes the awful things that you think about were also part of the charm of the experience, right? Red and blue are a really hard game compared to like every Pokemon except maybe specifically Ruby and Sapphire when you fight the Elite Four, because that was a huge difficulty spike.
Yeah.
But it's like it's an experience playing the original Pokemon game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know a lot of them are available in the Nintendo Switch
Yeah, I think so.
online.
On the Game Boy channel.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, they came out on Game Boy, most of them original,
Yeah.
or at least in some iteration of Game Boy.
Yeah, you had red, blue, yellow, gold, and silver were all technically original Game Boy games in a way. Crystal was too, but Crystal had even more color coding in it than the other one. So it's kind of like a weird middle regular Game Boy game that's built for the Game Boy Color. It's just not restricted to the Game Boy Color. And then once we get to Ruby and Sapphire, we jump over to Game Boy Advance.
Right. I'm just trying to see if, I guess, well, I thought maybe some of the old Pokemon games, are they available? Because
I thought they were. I thought Red and
according
Blue
to this
were.
article, I thought so too, but I might be just.
I know. I think Pokemon Puzzle League, or not Puzzle League, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge or whatever. Like one of the puzzle games might have been on there, or was it Pokemon Trading Card Game? I know for a fact Pokemon Trading Card Game for the Game Boy is on there. That might be the only Pokemon game.
Yeah. It looks like on Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership, you have Pokemon Trading Card Game, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Puzzle League, Stadium, and Stadium 2. There's only 5.
I remember Pokemon. Yeah, we played
mini.
Pokemon Puzzle League. Me and my brother when it was added. I love Pokemon Puzzle League. That is a really, really good game if you like puzzle games.
Yeah, that sucks. That you can't play any. You can't play any old Pokemon games on the Switch.
Well, yeah, and I think that's like the big problem with Pokemon Stadium, right? Because Pokemon Stadium, the actual cool part about it was not the gym challenge or the trainer challenge on the side where you went through the gyms in Elite Four. It wasn't the mini games, even though the mini games are fun, and that's why a lot of people kind of wanted to come back. It was the fact that you could take your what's it called? You could take your Pokemon cartridges, you could put it in the bottom of your N64 controller if you had the attachment, and you could use your Pokemon in this 3D environment to play a Pokemon battle. Yeah. And you could play the games on your screen because it had a Game Boy player only for Pokemon in it. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching some show where they would like try and recover data from old games and stuff, and somebody had I can't remember what the show is or what all the circumstances. I just remember watching the show where this guy had an old version of Pokemon Red or Blue, and it was corrupted or the battery had worn out or something, and he just wanted his Pokemon back, and I guess they figured out a way to recover it.
Yeah.
Or most of it.
Yeah, I think technically it is mostly recoverable as long as you didn't actually replace the dead battery and didn't start a new save file.
Yeah. To overwrite, because it should stay there.
Yeah, because Pokemon as a game only has a single save file in it, which was the bane of my existence when I first started playing that game. My brothers didn't have Pokemon until Gold and Silver. That was their first Pokemon game. I had both Red and Blue myself. But I got Red like months before I got Blue. I had to restart all the way to fighting Brock, the first gym leader, 5 times because my youngest brother kept taking it and starting a save file because he's like, I want to play the game too. And he just could not comprehend that there was only a single save file in the game. And eventually my mom had to like reprimand him and say, you can't touch that game no matter how much you want to play it. He was like
a different one.
4 at the time, maybe, or like I'm trying to remember. I've got 3 years on him. I'm trying to remember how old I was when Pokemon came out. You know, like It's you don't want to be angry at him, but even then, I was a little kid, so I was really angry. It was like it's hard to get through to a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Well, It's amazing that they could save
Yeah.
games to those tiny little things at all.
Yeah.
But you could like bring your Pokemon. I'm such a noob.
Yeah.
I know the basics, but you could bring your Pokemon up through the generations, right? Like you could transfer from red to
of.
whatever came after red.
So there is a hard block at some point, right? And it's very early on. All the Game Boy games can communicate with each other. So red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, and crystal can all play together, but there is a stop.
Gold and silver.
Gold and silver was the second generation.
Those were those on the Game Boy Color?
Well, they're Game Boy, but they have a little more color coding in them. They were all technically original Game Boy. The original Pokemon had a lot of color coding, but that's because the Super Game Boy was already a thing they were working on.
But the Game Boy Advance? Oh, the Super Game Boy,
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, because of the Super Game Boy, a lot of games had color coding in them before Game Boy Color was even a thing.
Yeah.
So all of the Pokemon games had color coded into them. But the first six were all Game Boy 1 games.
Beside the point.
Not Game Boy Color, they were just all original Game Boy.
Right. So you could transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Red or Blue to Gold and Silver somehow.
Yes.
Couldn't you?
First 6 games, you could go from the younger generation to the newer. You could even battle.
How did you...
It had some weird thing in it to where it would use the code of the other game to know how to battle against them. But if you wanted to trade a Pokemon in, you could only trade in a compatible Pokemon, right? So if you wanted your Charizard, you had to go get like a Rattata or something that was in Gen 1 to trade that Charizard.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. But how did you transfer... I'm me, and I have Pokemon Red, and then I get Silver. How do I get Pokemon
There's
Red?
No transferring. It's trading. That's the only way you get it in there. Like you would between any normal trainers.
So if you have a Gen 1 Pokemon, you can trade it to someone else.
Yeah.
And then you boot up the Gen 2 game, and they can trade it back to you? Into like Gold or Silver?
Well, the way trading works, like in normal Pokemon trading, right, is you have both games booted up, right? You go into the lobby where you go to trade, and you could trade. Actually, I think you could trade Gen 2 Pokemon. It would just show up as like an error if you traded them.
That's not what I'm asking, though.
Yeah.
Could you get your original Gen 1 Pokemon that you started in the old game into the newer game?
I already said that. You can. You can get your
But
Charizard
how?
from Gen 1. You just have to trade it like if 2 Gen 1 people were trading, but you can only get Gen 1 Pokemon yourself, right? So in Gen 2, there were Gen 1 Pokemon. If you wanted your stronger Gen 1 Pokemon from the Gen 1 games, you had to trade a Gen 1 Pokemon back. So just go out and catch like a level 1 Pidgey and trade it for your like level 99 Charizard. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could do it back then. And that was
so
the stop.
So you had to trade the one you wanted, someone else. Then you boot up the Gen 2 game, and they have to trade it back.
Boot up. No, both games are already booted. You're trading it directly to the Gen 2 game.
I've got my Game Boy. It's got Pokemon Red in it, and it's got my favorite Charizard in it.
You're trying to use a middleman. That's what you're saying. Yes, you could do that because you could trade to any trainer if you want. If you have a friend that would do that, and you don't have 2 Game Boys yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm saying I don't have 2 Game Boys. I'm saying, how do I get my Pokemon from the Gen 1 game into the Gen 2 game?
Well,
I've only got one.
If you've got a friend with a Game Boy, you don't even have to trade it to him. You could just borrow his Game Boy and put your other game in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's confusing me. Like, why do we need his game? We just need his Game Boy.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. But what I said would work.
It would work. I'm just confusing. Like, why do we need this middleman? We just need the other system to use. We don't need his cartridge.
Maybe he's, he doesn't like other people touching his stuff.
I mean, you could still do certain things, right? Like, if he wants to let you use it, you can scratch his back too. Like maybe he's got a Pokemon that can only evolve through trading, which there's a few of them, right? Like Haunter can only become Gengar if you trade it first. I believe Kabdabra and Alakazam's there too. You'd be like, listen, I'll help you get these Pokemon you can only get through trading if you do this for me. Like I could see that. Yeah. You still have to do like a trade back anyway for him to get his Pokemon back.
Right.
Yeah.
So, moving on, Game Boy Advance started with
Ruby and
Sapphire.
Yes. So there's a hard line between there. You cannot get anything from Gen 1 and 2 to the Game Boy Advance. They did not make them compatible.
Why not? That's crazy because the original Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy games.
I know, but they didn't
so
make
you
the
put
games
a Game Boy
compatible.
Advance cartridge, and you put the Game Boy cartridge, and you could put them in at the same time.
You could.
It's obvious.
But they didn't make the games compatible. So there's this hard block right there where you cannot trade Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon to Gen 3. But everything after that, because they started making transfer tools. Instead of relying on just trading, they started making all these transfer tools. You can take your physical cartridge, Ruby and Sapphire games, and you could take them to a DS, right? Put them in the bottom, and Heart Gold and Soul Silver had a tool in its game to pull them out of it. So it wasn't a trade anymore. It was actually a hard transfer.
Yeah, maybe I'm confusing myself. The Game Boy Advance, or even the original, it only had one slot.
Yeah, it only had one slot. But if you had two Game Boy Advance, you could put a Game Boy in the other Game Boy game in the other one, and you would still be able to trade if they made the games compatible.
And you could play it.
Yeah. But they just didn't make the games compatible with each other.
Okay, so that makes I get that more now. Yeah. It was the DS where you could put a Game Boy Advance cartridge in.
And that was the first
DS
system where they started transferring Pokemon from one game instead of trading.
Yeah. And that makes sense because it's like, okay, I've got both games in the system.
Yeah.
Easy. That makes a bit more sense. But it sucks, but I kind of understand it more if they're like, well, it would be kind of hard to make
Flyfox
Game
Pro
Boy
says,
games compatible.
I just wish Nintendo didn't stuck. Well, it's not all on Nintendo. They are only half owners of the Pokemon Company. The Pokemon Company is allowed to make its own independent decisions, and the other half owners of the Pokemon Company and Creatures Inc. are Game Freak. So there's a lot of different vested interests in the Pokemon Company. Even Nintendo, as the 50% owner, has to get agreements from its own Pokemon Company to put these games on the Switch Online. So Nintendo does suck for a lot of different reasons, but not all of this is Nintendo's fault. But yeah, due to transfer tools, you could get something from the Game Boy Advance era all the way up to Scarlet and Violet, actually, before they shut down some of the systems, like the 3DS, what's it called? eShop. Before the 3DS eShop was shut down, you could use there's a Pokemon transfer tool to get things into the Pokebank, and then from the Pokebank, you could transfer it to Pokemon Home, and then they eventually made Pokemon Home compatible with Scarlet and Violet, so you could get Pokemon to the same generation. It took forever.
Yeah.
But they did make it. So it's a complicated process, though, right? Because you have to get things.
Yeah, I'm looking at the.
There's a flow chart. I'm sure you're looking at the flow chart.
Well, no, I haven't gotten there yet. But I was looking at how in the Virtual Console, I guess on the Wii, versions of Gold and Silver, you could use the Poke Transporter to go from Gen 1 and 2 to the Pokemon Bank. But then it says you can only withdraw them into Generation 7.
Those are the 3DS versions. I guess in Japan they did get Gold and Silver out. I just don't remember they having English version because if you got Game Boy games on 3DS, those were called Virtual Console games.
Well, that's Gold and Silver. Okay, wait. Yeah, I don't. Apparently, there is a video.
Yeah. I can see the chart in my head because there was an old flow chart that was put out to explain it to everyone. I know all the processes off the top of my head. It's just trying to explain them without visuals is difficult. Uh,
Yeah, it's all right. Now wait a minute. Surely Ocarina of Time is on the virtual, or it's on the Nintendo Switch Online, isn't it?
I think so.
Let's
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
look.
Because people were complaining that it looked awful when it first came out, and it ran horribly. Like they had to put the fog
Yeah,
back in.
badly
Yeah.
emulated. Yeah.
But you can't buy
But yeah,
it. That's
you
the
can
thing. He
play
wants to
those.
buy it. He just wants to own it. He doesn't want to have to like pay a rental system, which is
Well,
what
too
you're
bad.
currently doing. I know. The Nintendo doesn't. They only let
bad,
you
so
rent their
sad.
old games now.
And technically, you're renting their new games too.
Yeah. Sort. Well,
Even when you have a physical copy, you technically
not
only have one.
necessarily, and that's only because of one feature that the Switch has that can kind of make up for it. And the Switch has the ability for you to update games from another Switch and not online. So if that other, like your friend's Switch, has the most updated version of the game, the patches that you need, local communication, you can update, you can get it from them. That's a feature that the Switch has.
Okay. When did we start talking about that?
Well, because you said even if you buy it physically, you're still technically renting your games. No, because you actually
Yeah.
own the physical game, right?
Okay.
And even when it comes to updates that you might need after that physical copy, you can get it all without going to Nintendo, even if they shut down the online. So the Switch is like the only system that's still out now where you can own your games if you own them physically.
I guess. I mean,
and it's only because they
technically, you
have
just have
that
a
feature in
perpetual
there.
license,
Yeah.
you know, but it's effectively the same. Going to go watch Blue Box with my wife. Tell her you got more important things to do. You know what Blue Box is?
I don't know what it
But
is, but
actually,
have fun with your wife. Quality time is the most appreciated thing in the world.
Say hi for us.
Yeah.
I guess.
Thanks for stopping by.
What is Blue Box?
I don't know.
Is that a show? Or... Thanks for stopping by.
But yeah.
Let's talk about the Nemesis system.
Oh God, no, that's worse than talking about old Pokemon.
Oh, it's an anime series on Netflix. Interesting. Something about badminton.
I'm suddenly more interested than I was before.
Yeah, Blue Box. This uplifting anime about the good Fistrozo. Thank you for staying. This uplifting anime about the budding romance between a rookie badminton player and a basketball star is based on the award-winning manga by Kuji Miura.
Maybe we'll watch it. That sounds like something for a Monday show.
You can read a
synopsis. No, I wasn't trying to be cynical or snarky about that. I'm serious. Like maybe we'll watch it. That would be a thing for a Monday show.
I'll have to put it on.
Yeah.
Can you do watch list? Yeah.
Yeah. You can make a watch list.
It's on my Netflix watch list.
Well, I've got something I need to watch that I might end up talking about again. Though, because I'm the only one who watches it, I only ever talk about it briefly. But maybe an upcoming Monday show, I might talk about Reacher Season 3 because it dropped this week, and I only just now realized. So that'll be on the list of things. But speaking of Pokemon, Pokemon Day is coming up on February 27th, and there is going to be a big Pokemon live stream. I honestly have no idea what they're going to talk about. Maybe since we know the Switch 2 is coming out now, they'll be like, hey, we're going to start giving you information about the next generation of Pokemon now. Hopefully it won't be as buggy and bad as, Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, what is up with that? I just saw like a top 10 or 15 or whatever list of Pokemon games on the Switch.
Yeah.
And Arceus got number 1, but
I can see that because that was made by a third party. Like that was licensed out.
Oh.
Yeah. The Game Freak didn't make it.
Yeah.
There's the problem.
And interestingly, yeah. Well, Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu was like number 3, and I don't know. I liked it, but it is weird and it's not.
Yeah, Game Freak only made 2 Pokemon games on the Switch, and it was both the 2 main series games. It was Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. Everything else that
Yeah.
came out on the Switch, they did not touch. And everything else on the Switch is praised more than the 2 games that Game Freak made. They are currently the problem with the company that they are half owners of.
Well, and they said something like that they're not super interested, or the director
B
isn't super
team that
interested in
works
making them
on it.
anymore.
Well, no, the director is actually still interested, or the former director,
Oh,
Junichi Masuda, who is not the guy who started Pokemon, but he's been around since like the start. He did a lot of the music for Pokemon, especially in the Game Boy Advance era, which is why you hear all the horns. But he was a French horn player back when he was like in school and stuff. But he became the director for most of the run of Pokemon. He's been the director longer than not, and he left Game Freak to become the president of the Pokemon company. So maybe in the future we'll see him have more say in things. I don't know how going from being the director of the game to being the president of the company is going to solve any of those problems, unless they're thinking of removing Game Freak from making the games and just letting the Pokemon company itself handle it. Or maybe Nintendo is thinking of buying out Game Freak's half of the Pokemon company. I don't know. Because Game Freak still seems to be the problem here.
I mean, who at Game Freak? Is it the developers? Is it the directors? Is it?
I have no clue. It's kind of insular. We hear some interviews sometimes, but they don't talk a lot. And mostly all we hear from Game Freak is excuses, right? They'll come out and explain why Sword and Shield was the way it was or whatever, and none of those excuses add up with the things that people see. So it's anyone's guess why things are the way they are at Game Freak, other than I guess they're just not that interested in Pokemon anymore.
I guess. I mean, I tell you, they come out so often. I feel like they need to take their time. Like, I guess it's nice to have a new Pokemon game very quickly, but it's like, but if they suck, it seems like they just don't innovate enough, and they need to have something profoundly new, because to me, it seems like the problem is just they're boring. That you roam around on a bicycle until your egg hatches. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the old ones are boring. I'm saying the newer ones, what I've seen people complaining about is like, I remember in Sword and Shield, it was just the breeding system was just obnoxious. And
the breeding system's always been bad. Like, it really hasn't changed much. But that's the thing, right? It's the same breeding system that we've had since it debuted in Gold and Silver. Not that I'm complaining, because like, people who like it come back to it because they like it. It's most of the other stuff that they flop on that it's like, well, even this thing that I usually like is grinding at me because all the other stuff around it's not doing very well, right? Like, one of the big problems with Sword and Shield, which a lot of people praised, but I think is directly one of the problems with the game and why they're bored, is they took out random encounters from Pokemon. So now the Pokemon are just like walking around, and it's like, well, now you can just avoid them. Which people are like, cool, I could just avoid them. It's like, yeah, but does that actually make your game more immersive or less? Right? Does it make it more immersive that I'm actively avoiding playing the game, or less immersive?
Yeah, that was definitely it is weird that they would do that, because they would specifically design the older games so that you had to walk through tall grass in certain points.
Yep.
And you were guaranteed, unless you were doing some kind of crazy RNG manipulation, you'd be guaranteed that you'd have to fight a certain number of times between this many.
Or like, you have to go through this cave to get to the next point.
And
being a cave is basically always in tall grass, right? You could be attacked at any time. Fishos actually had a question. He says, what does Eevee mean? Because Eevee is also the name of the Blender real-time renderer. Eevee is a Pokemon. It's the name of a Pokemon. Its name is just a palindrome. and it is one of the most popular Pokemon because it's the only one that can branch off into like everything. There's almost every different type of an Eevee. They call them Eeveelutions. But he got the electric badge, the water badge, and the earth badge. So now he's confused on what to do. Which he said them in reverse order. But after you get the electric badge from what's his name, Lieutenant Surge, you go down Bicycle Road, I think, is the next point. Yeah, and you should be looping around.
Well, I can tell you, I think you're thinking about this backwards.
I'm thinking backwards. Yeah, or he is.
No, you're not. I'm just saying.
Because it should be that you get rock, water, then electric is the order that you do it in.
Oh, I was going back to the original question.
Oh.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I can tell you that the blender renderer called Eevee was named after the Pokemon.
No, that's what I said.
And it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking, actually, there's a band. There was a band. No, it is a band called Eevee. Wait, is it really? Oh, yeah. It's okay. Yeah, they were named after the Pokemon as well.
Yeah, it's like the most popular Pokemon next to Pikachu. Yeah. Right? Both of them are probably even more popular than Charizard. Though Charizard's like the seller of most popular Pokemon, right? The people who really like Charizard really like Charizard, and they will dump a lot of money for Charizard things. But if we're talking about actual like total popularity, it's like Pikachu, Eevee, Jigglypuff. Those are the three most popular Pokemon.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's funny because, nowadays we hear this for years or maybe a decade or more. There's this whole push to find this phantom new gamer audience that doesn't exist. But Pokemon figured it out a long time ago. I mean, Pokemon surely is almost as popular with girls as it is with boys, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, definitely more boys play the game than girls, but when it does come to like games that are dichotomy, it's probably the closest any game gets, next to like maybe Tetris.
Yeah. And I'm betting that the cuter Pokemon, the Pikachu and Eevee, probably especially Eevee, is really popular with girls.
But I do think it's probably even the main RPGs that are like that, where is slightly in the boy favor. I think a lot of the side games are probably more girl favor than guys, right? Like one of the most popular, Hey You Pikachu, I wouldn't be surprised if that game had a higher female audience base than male. Some of the mobile games as well, like Pokemon Cafe, which is a puzzle game. Pokemon Shuffle, which was basically Candy Crush. A lot of those games will probably also have a higher female audience than male. But Pokemon, just because it's the most popular thing there is. If you were a band, if you were a property, an IP, everyone wishes they were as popular as Pokemon, right? If an alien came down to Earth and they looked at human conditioning or whatever, and they were like, what's the biggest religion on the planet? They would think Pokemon is the dominant religion on the planet.
Even more than Hello Kitty?
Hello Kitty's number 2 after Pokemon when it comes to... And Pokemon has almost double Hello Kitty. If you add them both together, them combined make the same money as the next 5 things after them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was actually curious.
Hello Kitty would be that second, like, competing religion.
Yeah. I guess the most popular, well, it doesn't say it's the most popular, but stupid Gemini really sucks. I should stop using this site. But Pikachu, Eevee, and Sylveon, which is an Eevee evolution, are among the most popular Pokemon with girls, and as well as Jigglypuff, Togepi, and Gardevoir. I imagine Togepi because it was in the anime.
Yeah, same with Jigglypuff, right? They were actually trying to push Jigglypuff as like their other mascot for the which is why it showed up in the anime that way, and also why it was in the original Smash Brothers. It just didn't take really. Still one of the most popular. It's like up there, but there's nothing that is exactly the same as Pikachu.
Mm-hmm. Jozo wants to know what to do in Fire Red after getting the electric, water, and earth badge. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
that was the thing that I was talking about, where you're like, I have no idea what you're talking
about.
about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I was off in my own world of Pokemon here. But, the most popular Pokemon with boys are Charizard, Dragonite, Blastoise,
of course,
Arcanine,
the hardcore Pokemon,
Garchomp, and Lucario.
My favorite is Umbreon, which is the coolest of the evolutions, and then after that is probably Charizard for Alligator, a bunch of the starters that I've had that you get really attached to your starter because it's the first Pokemon you get in a game, and it just kind of stays with you the entire journey.
Yeah.
Except in Ruby and Sapphire. I didn't like any of the starters, so I caught a Poochyena right away, and like that's my starter. You're the equivalent of my starter in this game, is this dog.
In which game?
In Ruby. When I first played Ruby, I was like, it's not that they're bad.
What were the starters in that?
It was Torchic, Mudkip, and Trico. Which, retroactively, I started liking all three of them more than I did when I first played it. They just kind of looked goofy compared to the starters in the previous two generations. So I'm like, I want this cool-looking dog instead, which is one of the first things you can catch.
Yeah.
But then all of them look pretty cool when they reach their final evolutions, like Blaziken, Swampert, and Sceptile. So it's like, man.
Yeah, like Blaziken.
I like them now. I just wish I knew. Well, I don't at the same time. I don't like knowing what the Pokemon are necessarily going to look like when they fully evolve, because it kind of like ruins the experience, right? Everything's spoilers now.
Yeah.
Right? People are like, I'll pick my starter based on what the final evolution looks like. It's like, why do you want to know what the final evolution looks like before you play the game?
Yeah, everyone wants spoiled. I'm trying to find where my favorite starter is.
Technically red, blue, and green, which was red and green if you're in Japan, red and blue here, did spoil two of the starters for you because Charizard and Blastoise or Charizard and Venusaur were on the covers. You couldn't avoid that.
Okay, so I couldn't remember what generation it was. It must have been, because it was Sword and Shield, and I played Sword a bit. I liked Scarbunny. Scorbunny? Scorbunny.
Oh yeah, the soccer playing rabbit. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't like Sword and Shield, but I like that Pokemon.
Yeah. I don't like a lot of the starters because
I like the
oh
my god, Fuecoco in Scarlet and Violet, the alligator who's a red hot chili pepper. It's like I had to pick that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, and Sobel, that's the other one in Gen 8. I don't know what that is, but
I think the Galar region in
cool.
general was just weak. Everything about Galar was weak. The Sword and Shield one.
Yeah. But I didn't like what was Gen 7?
That was Sun and Moon, right?
Okay. Yeah, I hated Poplio. I guess everybody did.
Yeah, I didn't like that one either. Some people really like the final stage, but the first stage he was just too goofy. It was too much of a goober.
Yeah. And I kind of like...
I went with Litten because he becomes a heel, like a dark wrestler. He even does like a lariat and a clothesline and everything in his super moves. I called him Captain Insano because of Waterboy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I liked Litten. I started with Litten, but I didn't play long enough to get that far. Actually, now I wish that I had because he does.
Dude, I didn't even know he was going to become like this cool wrestler character because I didn't look at the spoilers. I picked him because he was lit.
He is. Yeah. I think that's why I picked him too. And like, I like Fennekin, but I don't like the what is it, Delphox or
Braxton.
Or Braxton.
Yeah. I don't actually like Fennekin at all. Like I don't like any of the stages. I wanted to kick Fennekin when I saw it.
Yeah, those ears are weird. Anyway, that's a whole other.
The best
rabbit hole.
starter is actually Totodile. Okay, nothing has been better than Totodile that came out in Gen 2. They just have not topped it. It's such a jolly little snapper. This is a little crocodile.
Oh yeah.
Especially the one that Ash gets in the anime. He's just so happy and he's like chop, 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 chop. But like you get to play the game before the anime switch over, because it always switches over like a month or two after the game comes out. So it's like Totodile is just cool. You know, it's like you just get this cool little like I want the crocodile. Do I want the weird little I don't even know what Typhlosion or Cyndaquil is supposed to be. I guess it's some type of rodent. It looks kind of rodent-y, but it's like I don't want that. Or the dinosaur would be cool if it looked more like a dinosaur. I kind of like Bayleaf now, but as a kid, I'm like, you look like a thumb. I don't want Chikorita. You know, you just look like a thumb. It's like Totodile though. Totodile's cool. He's still cool. It becomes Feraligatr.
Yeah.
It's like an alligator with fear in its name. Psh.
I don't like a lot of the evolutions. Like, you know, I like Squirtle.
Yeah.
Especially in the anime when he had his sunglasses.
Yeah.
But I don't like. What was it?
War Turtle.
Turtle or whatever.
And then we call him Blastoise because that's what the anime says. It's Blastus. It's actually supposed to be Blastus, like a tortoise.
Oh.
Yeah. Same with like, a lot of people do this too. I did as a kid. You go to Final Fantasy and you almost have like this knee-jerk reaction to want to say Adamantoise when it should be Adamantis, like a tortoise. Yeah, it's the same thing right there. There's a few Pokemon. Like I actually used to have this companion guide to Pokemon that was made by, I don't even think it was a Pokemon company. It was made by Game Freak at the time, but it did have like characters like Ash and stuff from the anime on the guide, but it was more accurate to the game than it was to the anime. And in it, every single entry was like having a book that was a Pokedex. It had a pronunciation guide for how you're supposed to say the English names, because the names are not the same in Japanese and English for half of the Pokemon. Pikachu is one of the few ones where it's the same in every language. And Blastus was one of them. Pidgeot, which everybody says Pidgeot, and the anime does that as well. But it's pronounced Pidgeot. And another of the big ones is Gyarados. Nobody pronounces the E sound in it, and they just say Gyarados. And I think that's also because the anime mostly just says Gyarados, but there's a Y right after the G, and it's Gyarados. And while the characters say it wrong in the show, the person who does the voice of Gyarados makes a Gyar sound. He's actually saying it right.
Yeah.
There's just the English director at 4Kids was inconsistent.
Well, that's probably enough Pokemon talk.
Probably, yeah. I mean, like I said, we're going to probably have more to talk about after Pokemon Day passes soon. It's a week from now. If most of the stuff will be earlier, because it's a week, that means we'll probably be talking about it on the show, because it'll be right before this next show. They usually start dropping information at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So.
Well, Pistozzo, I hope you get your Voltorb.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to find. When you go to the power plant, you'll see them, which will happen after you get to Lavender Town. If you go north of the Dark Cave or whatever, there's a waterway, and you go to the power plant. But they're mimics, right? So since this is actually the most brilliant thing for the game. All the items in the game look like Pokeballs just in the world. So if you're going to be a mimic, you want to look like the treasure chest. And since the treasure chests are Pokeballs, Voltorb and Electro look like Pokeballs. It's like they're evolved mimics. And when you go to the power plant, when you go to pick up one of these treasure chests, you'll get attacked by a Pokemon. You just have to be careful. Either go with Ultra Balls, like don't pick them up until you have Ultra Balls to throw at them, and you might just catch one in one throw. or bring a Pokemon that can put them to sleep, because they will self-destruct on you, and then you'll lose your opportunity to catch them. They're dicks that way.
They don't show up in tall grass anywhere?
No. Not that I know of. I think they
No,
might randomly spawn in the power plant, if I recall, but like you'll find them as mimics.
It says... Okay. Yes, I knew that, but apparently you can also find them in the new Mauville area, around the entrance where it will appear in the tall grass.
Mauville would be Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
I thought that's what
he's playing Fire Red.
Oh, Fire Red.
Which is the same generation. It's the remake during the Game Boy Advance era. I think you could also catch them in the Sevi Islands. I think there's some spawn points there too. They added more spawn points for some of the rarer Pokemons from the original game in Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So where you said around the power plant.
Yeah.
But also go to the Pokemon Center in Route 10, head north into the large grass patch in there.
Okay.
And they're up.
How could they evolve to look like Pokeballs when Pokeballs were a human invention? I mean, if something's been around long enough and enough generations happen, you could evolve to look like anything that benefits you. It wouldn't even be intentional, right? It would just be accidental mutations or whatever, and then the thing that happened to look more like this thing was more successful at breeding. That's just how evolution works. It really just depends how long back were Pokeball. It's also Pokemon evolution isn't one-to-one to evolution, so it's kind of like a weird thing to try to compare it anyway. But it's like how long back were Pokeballs invented, right? Like eventually, if we just left enough tires around, we might see insects that evolve to be the same color and match like the grain patterns of the tires. They wouldn't evolve to be a tire itself, but they evolve to like blend into the tire. Like that would just happen eventually if there were enough around, and it led to more success of them breeding. Like that's just how it works. But with Pokemon, nothing actually follows real life, right? It's all just kind of fun, whatever. So no, Pokeballs have not been around for thousands of years, but they also don't need to.
How did Klefki's evolve?
Exactly.
You're going to ask that question.
You have that. How did Magnemite
Chandelure
evolve? There's all kinds of different ones. Like
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. How did a Pokemon evolve to look like ice cream? Right? Well, how does that benefit your reproduction strategy?
I think they're magic.
Yeah.
Well, can we move on to the most important news of the day?
Yes. What is it?
Rockstar Games has a huge GTA announcement.
Oh, do they? I didn't even hear about that.
It's not huge. That's why.
Oh, okay.
They're upgrading GTA 5. What? Oh. Did you think it was about GTA 6?
No, I thought they were actually just going to be taking down more GTA mods. I thought that's what the news was going to be.
No. There's a big free update for GTA 5, the 20 years old now game. It feels like it's been.
I think it's only like 10.
Oh, okay, 10-year-old game. It still tops the charts. I don't know how people are still buying it.
They're buying it because of the online. That's the reason. GTA Online comes with GTA 5.
Yeah, but
so it's like if I want to play the online on my new system, I have to go and buy GTA 5 again. That's pretty much it.
Well, now you get a free update that adds ray tracing and somehow at the same time makes it load fast.
So you have to ask yourself, why does, in the same regard, except I guess this one doesn't have online, so it makes it worse. Why does Skyrim keep saying? It's like, well, if I want to play Skyrim on my Switch, I need to buy it again.
I mean, that I understand.
Well, I mean, more people like GTA than Skyrim. It's a more popular game. GTA is probably, as a game, it's probably more popular than Pokemon. It's just as a franchise, Pokemon's more popular. GTA is a stupidly popular game where people will buy a system just for GTA. It's like still true.
I guess you're right that it keeps coming out on a new platform.
Somebody said that, I can't remember what company. Was it Blizzard? It might have been somebody at Blizzard was talking about this recently, where they're like, GTA is the only game where other companies will move the launch date of their game to not compete with GTA.
But the GTA already came out.
No, like they're thinking of
what do you mean?
GTA 6, right? And it's going to be coming out
Oh.
sometime soon. They're looking, it's like they're waiting to know what launch date that GTA 6 will have so they can not plan any games to launch on the same like week as GTA, because everybody, even people will take breaks. They know other game designers will call in sick from work to go pick up GTA. They just don't want to plan anything around whenever the launch date for GTA 6 is going to be. That's how much of a phenomenon GTA is.
Yeah. It just seems, I mean, I guess if you really like it, it's I remember when GTA 5 came out and it was a phenomenon because it did, 4 it didn't take 10 years.
It did,
between them,
but it was still a pretty big gap. I think it was almost 5 years between 4. Was it? I think it was like 4 and change. It was almost 5 years between the two of them. But that's like a usual cycle.
Yeah.
And they'll have like maybe some side games fill in the gap for GTA.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't in this case. It was like there haven't been side games since 5 came out because they've just been supporting online. But online's got a lot of content, so you could just keep playing it and enjoying it.
Yeah. 4 came out in 2008, and 5 came out in 2013. So 5 years, and now it's been 12. Now it's been 12 years. I just can't see how GTA 6 is going to live up to that.
Oh, I can't. The only thing that will do it, and I heard rumors that they're going to want to separate the two and make GTA 6 its own game and then just make a GTA Online that is a different game you can purchase. But I think that's the biggest mistake in the world, because I think a new GTA Online is what would sell GTA 6 the most, You're
right.
And I think it's also because they're not doing the side games anymore, right? So everybody knows if they want continuous content from GTA, they need to be playing online where they'll add new stuff. So it's like, okay, if this is where all the new stuff's going to be anyway, why bother with the GTA 6 story? I think they do need to package them together.
Well, if you're... Can't wait, though. March 4th, I think, the GTA 5 copy. Have a free upgrade if you're on PC, apparently only.
Yeah,
and you have a RTX.
To even push that point even further, I played GTA 5, and I'm somebody who actually likes the Grand Theft Auto games. The main story of 5 was not up to the standards of Grand Theft Auto. Like 4 was much better, and a lot of people criticized 4, but 4 was just a better main campaign. Online really carried GTA 5. And so I'm expected to be disappointed by 6, and we're going back to my favorite place, Vice City, which is where my favorite game was. But same name, GTA Vice City. That was my favorite in the franchise, and it's like, God, I'm hoping to not be disappointed, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready for disappointment. I'll probably end up playing it late too. Because I didn't buy 5. I only played through it because somebody I was living with owned it. If I do ever pick up 6, it'll probably be like years later after it's on sale.
Yeah. I didn't get 5 until it was free on PlayStation 5. But Rockstar is owned by Take-Two Interactive?
Yes.
And they're not owned by anyone else. Okay.
Yeah. Take-Two is the top layer. So it used to be, you remember 2K Games? So 2K was the layer that had gotten Rockstar, but Take-Two owns 2K, so that just became the top layer there.
Right. I had to work my way up to figure out. Are they actually owned by Microsoft? Seems like
yeah. And Take-Two is huge. Like they're a really big company. They own a lot. They own like Gearbox, or they did. I think didn't they sell it to Embracer? I think they sold Gearbox to Embracer. They used to own Gearbox for the longest time.
I used to know a guy who worked at Rockstar. Um,
Yeah.
I don't remember if he was related to my ex-wife or just a friend of the family's. But anyway, I met him back in the GTA 4 days. I don't know if he still works there.
It'd be cool if he didn't and you had contact with him, because that would make a good show if we could get him on. I would love to interview somebody who's been in the industry. Even if he did like a menial job, it doesn't matter. It's just be cool to interview somebody in the industry.
Yeah, I don't know what he actually did there, but considering he was either family or friends with my ex-wife, I don't
probably
think.
not. Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
I doubt it. But plus, I can't even remember who it was or what his name was. What is?
I mean, depending on the people. Friend, I could see not wanting to come on. Family, sometimes family likes to do things to other family members out of spite just because of their personality.
Yeah, could be. I'll contact her and see who was that person that I met that one time.
But that would have been cool if we did have somebody.
I doubt he's still. Well, I mean, I guess he could be, but I remember thinking at the time that it was cool. But for some reason, I didn't try to get a job. Well, probably because I would have had to move to New York.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work in it.
I
can't believe they're still in New York.
Are they still in New York?
Yeah, Rockstar.
Oh my God, Rockstar's still in Liberty City. That's crazy.
Yep, Liberty. I don't know, where's Liberty City?
Liberty City is their version of New York. Some of their earlier games, they took place there. Similar like how all comic books were written to take place in New York. Like the top-down one, I think the first one took place in Liberty City because that's where they were. And then they come back to it. There are different games that take place in Liberty City. There's even a game called Liberty City Stories. So it's crazy that Rockstar is still in Liberty City.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where, but they're in New York City.
See, Fischoso says they should get rid of the story mode in GTA 6 as a question. Nobody cares. I wouldn't say nobody cares, but people are caring less after the last one. I think the new one could be good. There were some potential rumors that it was going to be as woke as their competitor, what's it called? Saints Row, the reboot. But they've also had plenty of time to see people's reaction to that and rewrite the story. I mean, the game's still not coming out anytime soon. The basic idea isn't a problem, though. They've been doing part stories since the last one, right? The last one had 3 different main perspectives. And last I heard, the story is supposed to be like a Bonnie and Clyde situation where you've got a guy and a girl working together. You could totally do something fun with that. It just depends if they do something fun. So who knows? Yeah. But people are definitely losing more interest in the story. The story used to be one of the main reasons to go to it. You were either a story player or you were, I just want to play in the sandbox and fuck shit up players. Those were the 2 players, but the game equally gave you a lot to do if you were either of those players. A lot of those people have just kind of migrated only to playing online because why bother with the main game if you could just do everything in the same sandbox online? You could even turn off PvP. You could play in peaceful mode where people can't shoot you, and you can kind of just do a solo campaign playing online. But they are losing more and more of those story players. So I hope they make something good. I want them to make something good. I like a lot of the GTA stories.
Yeah. Well, in case you care, Rockstar Games is in downtown Manhattan.
Okay. I think in Liberty City, they had a parody version of their studio that you could go and see.
Probably. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of over. So I'm just going to end with something that I wanted to talk about that I'm sure you'd probably be interested in, but we just didn't have time. So this June 13th, there is going to be a Magic the Gathering set that is Final Fantasy cards that you can purchase. The art looks really good.
Okay.
It's probably going to be expensive to get some of them. I was talking to my brother who used to flip trading cards, and he said that I think they're called oh man, what was it? Secret something. The type of set that these usually come in are worth a lot. So it'll be difficult. But they're for commander decks more than anything. And I've got some of the cards in front of me. I don't know if I want to share them on screen, just because I want to go through them fast. I could show you more. You could see my screen from where you are. Yeah. But they have like Terra from 6. We've got Ex-Soldier Cloud. We've got Titus is there from 10. Yeah, Y'shtola from 14 is there. Jumbo Cactuar, which nice. I like the full arts card. Looks really good. Tonberry. Got to have a Tonberry, right? That's got to be like the scariest thing you can run into. It has First Strike and Death Touch. Like that would be a scary thing for somebody to plot down. We've got Stiltskin, the Moogle merchant who first appeared in Final Fantasy IX. Okay. He's appeared in other games since then. I like the card. I mean, Moogles are cool. Who doesn't want a Moogle card, right? Saz's Chocobo, the only good character from Final Fantasy 13, has a card, so that's good.
Except for all the others,
Yeah. The Chocobo that lived in Saz's afro, the best character in the game.
Yeah.
We've got 2 Final Fantasy 15 cards. One is Side Quest Catch a Fitch, which is an enchantment card, and the other is a land card, Cooking Campsite, which has your not Coleman gear, because while the game has the rights and advertising for Coleman, I doubt Magic the Gathering does, so they have to remove all that from it. We've got Sin from 10, the big boss, Spear's Punishment. It's got a full arts card too. Shiva. Got a nice full arts card. We also have Emmett Selk and Hades from Final Fantasy 14 as well. If you didn't play 14, you don't know who it is, but he is like the most popular Final Fantasy character right now, beating Sephiroth out in a poll in Japan. So, like, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I've never played 14. I don't know who he is. Well, most people do now. Garland and Chaos have some pretty cool cards too. Those are some of the ones I want the most. But I think, we're coming up to the one I actually want the most. And it's the full arts cards for Dark Knight and Redeemed Paladin Cecil Harvey, which look amazing. My favorite character. Sephiroth and Cloud also have other cards, so there's multiple Cloud cards you can get. And we've got Yuffie and the dragon from Mount Golg.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all the ones that they've shown.
So what are these? They're you can't use these like in tournaments, right?
They're for if you're playing like Commander, they're for Commander decks, which you can play Commander in some tournaments. But these are official Magic cards, and I guess it'll depend on the tournament, but I believe they're legal. The Cactuar seems kind of busted, though, because it has 10,000 needles. And, like, I've read the effect. Let me go up to it. It is 10,000 needles. Where was it? So, it's whenever this creature attacks, it gets plus 9,999 over plus 0 until the end of its turn. So it actually does just straight up do 10,000 needles.
Huh. And what's the normal? Does that say 1/7?
Yeah, it's a 1/7. It's a plant. It's a 5 cost.
Well, it's a glass cannon though, so anything that attacks is gonna kill it.
Yeah. Because it's a Cactuar. Why not, right?
Well, no, it's over plus 0. So okay, so they would still have to have at least 7 attack to kill it.
Yeah.
Huh. Actually, that's pretty rough.
It is rough.
The Tunberry seems underpowered though. It's like it's only 2/1.
It's 2/1, but it gets to strike first and it has Death Touch.
Which means what? It just kills anything it touches?
I think it's like a flip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. No. I haven't played Magic.
I haven't played in a long time either. I'm going off of what I remember about it.
Yeah, the art looks amazing. But yeah, that
Yeah, I
deck
don't
bar
want
is
to
going to be
play
like
Magic. I don't like to
unbeatable.
play it. I'd rather just collect the cards because I want the Final Fantasy cards.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to beat you? Like if you get it early, it's over.
Oh yeah.
Like, how are you going to get 7 attacks?
I don't know.
Crazy.
Also, realistically, like what in Magic could fight Cloud? Like, come on, think about it.
Yeah.
Cloud, Terra, they should just kill everything. Like, come on.
Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the last thing I wanted to go off on.
Cool.
It's easy to find if anybody wants to look at the images themselves. Thanks for watching the show. I had a good time. I thought it was a pretty good episode. We rambled about a lot of Pokemon and stuff, but that's always fine, especially with Pokemon Day coming up. And
I like talking about it.
I do too. Pokemon's cool. There's a reason it's the most popular thing on the planet. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it out with somebody else. Get more people to watch it. Watching VODs are cool too. You can always catch up. Get your friends in here. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. Hey, you, VOD watcher, if you made it this far, you could show some appreciation. That's fine. I'll read out your donation the next time. It won't go to waste. And we'll see you guys no later than Monday for Super Serial Showtime. I mean, I streamed Star Rail this week. I might stream it tomorrow because there's a lot to catch up on. So
cool.
We'll see you then.
See ya.